Hi everybody, welcome back. First thing we're going to talk about are horizontal asymptotes. There are going to be two types of asymptotes we're going to talk about in this section. This is the first of the two types. So notice our definition here is that a function has the line y equals x as a horizontal asymptote if either one of these conditions are true. And first condition is if x gets really large, so x goes to infinity, then f of x will get really close to k. Or, so this is an or, either one of these can be true, or both of them. Or, as x gets really small, so this is as x approaches negative infinity, f of x gets really close to the value k. So, one of the key lines here is that, or keywords, is that this is a line. So know that y equals could denote some things. It can indicate a point on a number line, but in this case it's not. We're in two-dimensional space, so this is an equation of a horizontal line, and a particular type of line called an asymptote. So, but we want to notice something here, which we'll see in the pictures in a second. For rational functions, if you have a horizontal asymptote, then both 1 and 2 are both true. So both of these conditions here are true. And that's important fact that we're going to use down the road. So let's look at some examples of horizontal asymptotes. So here's an example with a rational function. So maybe we have the line y equals 2 as a asymptote, and notice that we can find a graph that gets really close like that, dips down like that, then maybe comes back around like this and gets really close to y equals 2. And one thing to note about asymptotes is they're drawn as dashed lines. So dashed lines mean not in graph. And so one thing you want to think about with asymptotes is they're really guides to help graph. So they're really simple lines that help you define the shape of your graph. And actually there's another asymptote here called a vertical asymptote in this picture. And notice how the curve basically kind of follows along the asymptotes here. So this one kind of got really snug up tight against the vertical one. This one gets snugged up tight against the vertical one. But notice that they never actually touch it. But like I said, only one of these conditions have to be true. And so another example here, which is an example from trigonometry that you will see if you take that course, is here's the xy plane, and there's this function whose asymptote here, one of them is y equals pi over 2. The other one is going to be y equals negative pi over 2, and the function looks like this. Now, so notice that the asymptote you get from this direction is going to be different from the horizontal asymptote you get from that direction. So that is totally possible as well, but in this course our functions are going to be more like this, where since we're only dealing with rational functions, there's only going to be one horizontal asymptote for any rational function. Now if we go back to our two examples here from the previous video here, so notice that this end behavior here says that y equals 0 is a horizontal asymptote for this function. Asymptote. And the same thing up here or down here for the other example is the end behavior here again says that y equals 0 is a horizontal asymptote. So these two functions I defined in the previous video both have horizontal asymptotes. Then in the next video we'll also note that they both have vertical asymptotes. So I'll see you then.